So about a year ago, we started to see this trend of sustainability and started to realize that the industry had all of these wasteful and multiple SSP and DSP calls and multiple cookie sinks, which was really the culprit for the skyrocketing of CO2 that we're emitting. So what we set out to do was to take our tech, our standard tech, and see if we could create a buy-side product that enables us now to wrap the creative that a buyer sends into an ad unit. And for the first time, the buyer would control the refresh. Totally transparent with publishers, whether direct demand or PG or PMP deals. But it enables us to reduce the multiple SSP and DSP calls on the second, third, and fourth ad that they might deliver versus participating in the first ad, which on average has 135 bid requests plus the cookie sync.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
Andy Batkin is one of the folks that has been in digital pretty much as long as I have. I started in '94. But now he's the CEO of Duration Media, which a lot of folks think of as really centering on viewability. But when I saw you at Luma, it seems like you had really expanded your mandate. And so I'd love to hear what the elevator pitch is these days.
So for the last 5 years, we've been focused on monetizing only highly viewable ad impressions for publishers. We have patented Adtech that measures or has the ability to measure whether an ad is in view in real time. And once we do that, we do one of two things. We either monetize that in our highly viewable ad exchange with our multiple demand sources, or we send it to the publisher to monetize with their direct demand when they're looking for highly viewable ad impressions. So about a year ago, we started to see this trend of sustainability and started to realize that the industry had all of these wasteful and multiple SSP and DSP calls and multiple cookie sinks, which was really the culprit for the skyrocketing of CO2 that we're emitting. So what we set out to do was to take our tech, our standard tech, and see if we could create a buy-side product that enables us now to wrap the creative that a buyer sends into an ad unit. And for the first time, the buyer would control the refresh. Totally transparent with publishers, whether direct demand or PG or PMP deals. But it enables us to reduce the multiple SSP and DSP calls on the second, third, and fourth ad that they might deliver versus participating in the first ad, which on average has 135 bid requests plus the cookie sync. So that's, I think, in a nutshell, what we're doing. We're still working with publishers, but now we're spending a lot of time on the buy side with all of the holding companies and helping them learn how they could use our product to actually reduce carbon emissions when they buy versus products that are in the market that sell offsets.
Yeah, it's always fascinated me because, whenever I sit with the sort of geekier side of the industry, sort of no one would have designed it the way it works now had they had a blank, a blank whiteboard in front of them, right? It's really sort of a wasteful back and forth, and each of those sort of pings between servers as we decide who's going to win the impression and which ad is going to show in that impression. Sort of burns through extra, cycles and extra carbon. So from a sort of flowchart perspective, sort of how does the system sort of eliminate all those extra wasteful layers?
Well, it's a great question. If I could show you a visual, it would really be a lot more helpful, but I think I can describe it fairly quickly, is that when a buyer buys that first ad, again, 130, they participate, on average, 135 bid requests. Their bid is the one that wins, right? You've got an average of 27 integrations of a SSP into a publisher. they have 20 integrations. If only 25% send out bids, that's where you get the 135. And that data is according to Jounce Media that has been studying this whole SBO thing, plus the cookie sync, right? So that's the low-hanging fruit of if we can reduce that carbon or reduce the amount of bid requests, we can then know that if 135 bid requests equals this amount of carbon, and now when we deliver that second ad in that pod, it's only one SSP to one DSP. So we've taken 135 bid requests down to one. So the first ad is delivered. Let's say it's M&M Mars, right? So the first ad they deliver is a Three Musketeers ad. And it's actually a great example because the multi-brand companies, all the brands bid against each other to deliver that same, they wanted that same sugar lover, right? But in this case, Mars could own that ad unit and deliver that Three Musketeers ad as the first ad, and then they can set the amount of time they want that ad to be in view, say 15 seconds, and that they want 80% of the pixels to be in view. So our technology takes over, and then we start to measure that in real time. And then we ping their SSP and say, execute this PMP. And now M&M's is delivered into that second ad unit. Same sugar lover, right? So the example, Group M calls it the poditization of viewable impressions or banner ads, right? So the opportunity there is that, well, let's use an analogy. You're watching the Super Bowl commercial break, you're watching 4 different ads, you're the one who's seeing it. So same targeted consumers seeing those 4 ads. So that's what we have now as an opportunity for buyers to reduce their carbon emissions. And the publishers love this because they can now reduce their bid requests as well, right? As offering a green PMP to their buyers in either a direct way, PG or PMP deal.
Yeah, that sounds particularly powerful amongst the sort of top decile of advertisers and agencies, in particular the top advertisers, right? Because those would have budgets sufficiently large that they'd love to sort of block off that great impression, that individual, right, who is in the target audience of one or more of their brands. Whereas a small advertiser, right, they're never really going to buy in a potted environment the way you were describing it.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. This is certainly suitable for large advertisers. However, the biggest use case that we're seeing being tested is for performance advertisers. So it's sequential messaging from the same brand, right? So it could be, a direct-to-consumer brand, right? Where the first ad, is the brand of whatever that, you say it's a mattress company, right? So the brand is there, and then after 15 seconds, they send a call to action to them, right? And if they don't buy it, in that or click on that first ad, they can show them another call to action. With one of the insurance companies, we actually on the 4th ad send them to the actual local insurance agent that they, send them the lead of someone who's actually interested when they click on that. So it doesn't have to be large advertisers, but that's pretty much the trend, what we're seeing and working with the big holding companies and groups like Horizon that, have large corporate clients.
I do love the opportunity to do ad sequencing, right? Because the fact that you can now choreograph the ads and sequence them in such a way that they essentially tell the story, not just within an ad, but across the ads. And because it's still viewable and it's the same individual, you have a pretty good chance that they're going to get the whole story, right? As opposed to the randomness of just buying, run of network or run of site or whatever. Now, now you can actually choreograph the storytelling. It empowers the creative teams to do things they couldn't have done before.
Oh, absolutely. And the publishers love offering the opportunity to deliver these sequential messages. And some of them, what they're doing is developing sales teams where they say, we only have 20% of our inventory that we're enabling for these direct deals. for Sequency wrap creative. And here's the features, benefits, and advantages for for the advertiser. They reduce their carbon emissions, because if they were to deliver those 4 ads in the open market, they'd be participating in 135 times 4, right?
Yeah.
Now it's 135 on that first ad, but it's now only 3. So it's a total of 138 bid requests. So we really turned that spigot down.
Yeah.
We'll talk about measurement in a second, because that the agencies and the brands need this to be quantified, right? So, but so that's the first part. The publisher may sell this at a premium. So let's say they've been normally getting $2 in the open market. They might sell this at $3. And so the actual CPM, effective CPM, if the brand sells 4 ads, is 75 cents versus the 2 that they normally would be paying, right? So there's a reduction there. There's also the ability for the brands to know that their ad will not be refreshed for the specific amount of time that the agency sets. So say it's 15 seconds. So with publishers, there's no way of knowing exactly how long that ad was in view before it was refreshed. IAS Double Verify might say, well, it was 50% 1 second in view, but they don't really know the time in view. So we're starting to see adding attention metrics to this, right, which has become a real hot button for agencies. So the value proposition here is not just to turn the dial down on carbon, but to actually create efficiencies and benefits for brands that weren't available before.
Yeah, I love the fact that it has some elements of an old school direct buy to it, right?
Yeah, and you're starting to see more PMPs anyway, right? So what the reason I'm laughing here is I'm thinking about this process, and it sounds like we really got our act together now, right? But this took over 15 months to build, talk to agencies, talk to brands, talk to publishers. So we built this in a way that it would work. Plus wrapping the creative, and doing that on a scale basis. But so we started by saying, so the only thing you have to do different is this, right? And the agencies were, whoa, this is our workflow. We don't do anything different. You put that square peg in this square hole, right? We're not going to do anything different. So we went to the guys at MediaOcean, and we showed them our product, and they loved it and understood that there was an opportunity to put this into the workflow. So we've been talking with agencies after spending a lot of time with the MediaOcean folks as to where this might fit. And it's a game changer for us, right? Is that the buyer can literally go in and say, I want this ad to be green, and click a box, right? And then there's a drop-down menu. What percentage of the pixels do you want in view? How much time you want that ad to be in view before it wraps? And the creative gets wrapped just like if they were using IAS or Double Verify. It's just a tag that goes, onto the creative. So in a very short period of time, we're going to be part of the workflow for all of the major agencies. And of course, some of them don't, use MediaOcean across all their brands. So we're working on the integrations, for those. But that's the ease of workflow that really is important here, because it's different, right? The first reaction was, well, I don't let the publisher refresh my ad, so why would I refresh the ad, right? And then we got into the efficiencies and the time in view and attention metrics and all of that. And I think the agencies have been great, by the way, and being open to doing something new and different. And when it comes to carbon reduction, we have to think differently. We can't keep doing the same thing that we're doing, right? So that's pretty exciting development, and we're going to be talking to a lot of people in Cannes about that, and having meetings with the MediaOcean folks, and working on placement. And the last thing about that is what we're looking at doing is helping the buyer be predictive. while they're in that platform is that based on the amount of impressions, that you're looking to buy, the sites you're looking to buy, the price you're looking to buy, certain, elements, we can say to them, it's not a Nielsen guarantee, but it's a predictive way is that if you set this up this way, you are going to reduce carbon by this much, right? So at least now there's some semblance of expectation, within the buyer's, vision of what they're doing. And they've got the client whispering in their ear, green, 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 so it's pretty exciting.
So you and your sales team and pretty much half of the ad industry will be out at Cannes in a couple of weeks. And do you feel like the hook for the sales conversation is the green, or you feel like the hook for the sales conversation is something else that you'll be using to sort of get everybody's attention while you're out there?
It's definitely sustainability. It's definitely the green part. There's so many sustainability sessions and all day and meetings. Every holding company's got one. BTV. We're holding a roundtable with AdNet Zero and a number of the top agency and brands to discuss measurement and try to speed standards and practices along. I sit on all of the IAB working groups, sustainability, trying to educate folks as to what they can do now, but also we've got to quantify it. And through IAB Europe and GARM and a number of other companies that have third-party measurement capability, we're this close to having third parties actually quantify, because we can't, grade our own homework. We can't be the ones that say, hey, this is how much we turn the dial down, especially with the European Union rules about greenwashing and fines that can occur if you don't have real data. The SEC, doing the same thing in the States. So quantifying the amount of carbon being reduced is going to be very important.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Yeah, I was just sort of wondering whether the greenness goes along for the ride or the greenness goes in as the primary product. And it seems like they could get excited about both at the same time. It's just, how do you open the conversation with the team, right? Do you open it with green, or do you open it with, by the way, there's stuff you could do you could never do before?
Yeah, Kevin, we're old war horses, right? We probably have some of the better Rolodexes as to who to call, when it came to sustainability, he went, okay, we went to the head of investment. We know the head of investment. Okay, well, that's great, but that's not what I do. That's not how I do it. Well, who in your company is working on sustainability? I'll get back to you, right? So eventually now there's almost every agency has a global head of sustainability. The brands are really asking for it. And so they've got to deliver. But, the big thing is for us is that we figured out how to actually reduce carbon versus selling offsets. And the IAB European definition literally states that we have to focus on carbon reduction and only use offsets when carbon reduction is not available. I heard a great analogy. You'll love this one. So this sustainability executive decides that she wants to take a bath. Well, she turns on the faucet, puts the plug in the bath, says it's going to take about 20 minutes, goes and reads a book. All of a sudden she's snoozing, right? Oh my God, the bath. She runs in and it's about to overflow. And she takes a bucket and all she's doing is taking the water out so it doesn't overflow. That's offsets. We actually turn the faucet off.
Yep, absolutely. Well, for those folks, who are sort of simultaneously thinking up and down the funnel, if you want to call it that, and they're doing a lot of performance-based work. They're doing a lot of upper funnel branding work. What are the sort of key catalysts that you find are like is it sort of as they're planning for the new year? Is it as they're planning creatively for new campaigns? Like at what time should they say like, oh, we got to talk to Andy's team because of XYZ?
Yeah, it's a slow testing process, right? And it's gotten faster now, right? So certain agencies started with one and then did two, and then, oh, wow, look at the results of this. And, some of them have different KPIs, but basically did we reduce carbon, right? What was the process like? How difficult was it to wrap the creative? How many ads did I get to deliver? What was my effective CPM? How much time was in view? Did I have an attention metric test along with it? And we're seeing those, almost every one now has got some kind of a attention metric attached to it. Because it's new, no one's going to say we're going to take 50% of our budget and start using Sequency, right? So, right. But really what's driving it is what one particular agency that we just talked to in London is that they said, look, we're ready to test this. And, what do you guys think, is the best way to go? I said, well, what other agencies are doing is if there's agencies, over your shoulder saying, hey, we want to test anything new and different, let's start with that. And he goes, great, because I've got 12 of those. Okay, well, let's start with one. It's like, and then because we've got publishers all over the world that are willing to do this, we can either set them up with a publisher who's willing to test, or they obviously deal directly with their own publisher base, either curating through their SSP or directly, through direct buys, et cetera. So, the setup is really simple. Between the time they decide they want to do it and the time they do it is usually, a week to two at the most. So testing is really the way to go. And there'll be certain use cases that'll come from this. We're still learning. We didn't think the performance advertisers or the creative folks were really going to be that interested, but it seems to be that's the one they love the most, right? Is this sequential messaging. Best way is to send me an email at abatkin@durationmedia.net.
Absolutely. So obviously, for this to work best, right, it's going to have to be the publishers have the system turned on, because you're essentially, creating this almost like a VPN direct connection. Like once you've established that this impression was one that we like and we bought the first one, and now we're going to get all the benefits of future impressions to the same individual, that's where the benefit lies. And so for that particular impression, there's a fairly significant carbon footprint reduction, and then you get all the other benefits that come along with it, the sequential messaging and the ability to build your story over time and make sure that it was viewable the whole time along. But as a percentage of a person's overall ad buy, right now it's probably pretty de minimis. So, for these advertisers, as you reach sort of a tipping point in number of participating publishers and advertisers really engaging, do you feel like there'll be a point where they can really brag about the level of sustainability and carbon footprint reduction?
Well, here's the beauty of what we've created, and I apologize if I didn't make this clear. Right, our tech to use Sequency, our new sustainability product, does not have to be on the publisher page for it to work. That's our core business. That's what we do today with publishers.
Right.
A user comes on to a page, say Rightmove in London, right? And as they're moving through their page, we see which ads are in view in real time because our tech is on the page. That's when we conduct a secondary auction for the publisher using our highly viewable ad exchange, or they sell it for their direct. That's our supply business.
Right.
Beauty of Sequency is our tech does not have to be on the publisher's page. When the buyer buys that ad unit, they can buy any site in the world that they want. The reason that it's so important to be transparent is that they need to structure a direct deal or a PG deal or a PMP deal with a publisher. So they can curate, either their SSP can curate that for them. We can assist if they want us to, but mostly publishers know the sites that they want to buy and structure those deals. So they'll send an RFP and say, here's this PMP. We're willing to pay a $3 CPM. you have to agree to turn the refresh off because we're using Sequency, and they check boxes and they either agree to it or they don't, right?
Right.
So it's really just the setup of a PMP or PG or direct deal that enables them to then use that technology on any site, even if we don't have our code on page for the core part of our business.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, because the ad operations pipes, right, hook together in a lot of different ways, and it's important to understand the nuances there.
That's why we don't have thousands of publishers using our technology, versus hundreds, right? So, we curate billions of impressions a month for our supply side. We want to be able to curate billions a day, right? So we're looking with an investment bank to buy an SSP that enable us to scale that business and provide differentiation in the marketplace of only highly viewable ad exchange with a unique supply path. Because when we find that ad, we're the only ones in the world that sell that ad to demand sources. So we think that's got a great opportunity, but the sustainability side it looks like it's the tail that's going to wag the dog here, right? Because it's the buy side, and it's the old joke is, why did Willie Sutton rob banks? Because that's where the money was.
Right.
So it's been fun though, really. It's been some hard work, long hours, but we're getting some great acceptance and willingness to test. And then the best part is after testing, now they're expanding to more clients to use it. So we're excited about the Mediaocean integration, and hopefully we'll have that done shortly so that the brands can, the agency buyers can easily move that into their workflow. I think we'll see some real scale from that.
Yeah, it sounds like Cannes is perfectly timed, because you're like right at that inflection point where like it's nearly 100% baked, and now you can go out there and really start to talk about it with everybody who's there.
Yeah, I mean, we're in 3 very large sustainability panels. You know how it is there. We're breakfast through dinner. We're the host sponsor of the Cannes Blanc party, Luma's Cannes Blanc party. So we're working on our whites and trying to figure out, what the outfit will be for that. That's a coveted invite. We do have 1 or 2 left. So if there's anyone interested, they can send me a note if they'd like to attend that. But yeah, it's we're really looking forward to it. And, I think it's a big jumping off point for us.
Yeah, it's oddly enough, it's my first Cannes after 30 years in the business. Never had a reason to go before, but having acquired
brand though, right?
Well, it's I get treated better if I go as my brand, right? So I don't even have the brand logo back here yet, but I bought a brand a little over a month ago because I needed a place to test everything that clients would never be crazy enough to run the tests I wanted to run.
Well, you and I cut from the same cloth, right? We had this ability over our life to have vision as to what's next, right? And selling that vision into people. I was just talking about this with my wife last night about a conversation I had with the CEO of one of the holding companies, and he's trying to sell new vision. He's how do you do it? How do you get people to believe? And I said it's difficult, but you have to establish some real rationale as to why this makes sense to at least test it, right? Selling Yahoo the first time, we wrote their business, plan and then created the model. And was it Wired Magazine beat us by, like 30 days to show the first banner ad. But we figured out the model and we really monetized Yahoo in the early days. So that was not easy. People were going, well, how does it work? And how does it get on the internet? I said, well, how did you ever buy television? the first time. You want to know that there's a cathode ray too that has the the red, the green, and then shoots up to a satellite. And there's it's the content, right? It's the audience, right? But people didn't get it in the beginning. Remember, people said it was a fad, right? It was going to go away, right? And now it's the largest medium in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And the lines have gotten so blurry, right? Between, where does digital begin and end, right? With OTT TV and, addressable TV, the lines have gotten, and even though outdoor, a big chunk of outdoor is now digitally addressable and in real time biddable, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. I remember playing golf with, I'll just call him a senior exec from a major TV network. And a friend of ours who was playing, he said, and this was 10 years ago, right? And he said, explain your vision as to where you think this whole digital thing's going to go. And I went like this, and I showed him my phone. I said, no one, is going to realize or turn to CBS anymore, or ABC or NBC. They're going to tune in to programs, right? And this device is going to be maybe 42 inches and then 65 inches and then 85 inches. And it won't know whether it's the internet or TV or whatever. And programming will be streamed and you'll choose the programs that you want to watch. And he looks at me, hey, Digiboy, we will never stream a program from our network on the internet ever. And then 2 years later, they announced their streaming service. And I called them up and I said, well, I guess the definition of never is 2 years, 3 months, 1 day, and 22 hours.
Yes. Well, he should have gotten you a golf cap that said Digiboy on it,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was hysterical. So.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting for me to be there as a brand, right? Obviously, it'll give me a different perspective, but looking forward to finally making it out to Cannes.
Great. Well, we'll hook up for sure. Looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to watching how you guys roll out because if you can reach critical mass, you'll have made a serious dent in the carbon use of the ecosystem. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, I appreciate that, and the way I end a lot of these calls is sustainability is that my kids now think I'm cool. So I can have an e-car. So, but we all have to do something, and the digital media business is really a bad actor here, to burn in electricity. So, if not with us, I encourage everyone who's watching, this or listening to this to do something to reduce your carbon footprint.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see you at Cannes, and looking forward to catching up again.
All right, Kevin. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.